This is our conversation with Lloyd Sugarman, the co-founder of the international restaurant chain Johnny Rockets, and the current owner of over 30 restaurants and businesses generating tens of millions of dollars a year. Throughout his career, Lloyd explored industries ranging from fashion to food to automotive and gained insights from celebrities and some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. From Lloyd's story, we learn how a seemingly unpromising and severely ADHD kid went on to start his first business at 19 years old, which generated $1.7 million in a weekend, and what it took to compound that success into eventually scaling a restaurant chain to hundreds of locations and curating his current portfolio of innovative concepts. This episode is brought to you in part by Coffee and Bagel Connection. Learn more about their delicious offerings and convenient locations with the link in the description. How long have you been in Rhode Island now? You just came back from Florida, right?
Okay, so, I was originally born in Rhode Island. I grew up in Cranston and went to Chester Barrows School off of Park Avenue in Cranston. And then my parents, when I was in sixth grade, moved to an area called Woodridge from Park Avenue, Sunset Terrace. And I went to high school, at elementary school at Woodridge last year, and then to high school in Cranston, High School West. But West would go from 7th grade to 12th grade in those days. They didn't have West. So I go back a few years.
Did you like growing up in Cranston?
I think I made some very good friends in my neighborhood, but I can't say that I enjoyed school, and in fact I didn't, and I can't say that I think I liked the area of Sunset Terrace and off of Park Avenue, where I went to school until all through elementary school, and except for the 6th grade in Woodridge. Junior high and high school, being all at the Cranston West, I wasn't a huge fan of or enjoyed that.
But I heard that you made the most of it.
I don't know what you mean by made the most of it.
Your principal caught you making phone calls, right?
Yeah, that's right. How did you know that? That's very, very good. Where's that written? Okay, that's very true. That's because I was so frustrated in class.
School.
Yeah, that's an embarrassing story, but it's an interesting one.
It is?
Yeah, because, we had telephone booths back then, and I was reading about different things in the stock market. And I said, this sounds like fun. So I said, geez, they have puts and calls. I started to study it. I was 15 years old, 16. I said, this is more interesting than the ancient history that they're trying to teach me that I have no interest in. I'd rather go to the places than read about them, and I didn't enjoy reading. Today you would classify me as a very serious ADHD student, but there was no classification for it. It's just that he jumps around and he doesn't sit still, and he is only focuses on interested things that he's interested in, meaning me. And later on, there's other obviously students they identify us, and I think it's an over-identification now and an excuse a lot of times, but I was the real deal as far as being ADHD. So it was challenging, but I said, you know what, I'm going to open an account on the phone in between my classes. So I called up and I opened a class, or I opened up a thing. I said, oh, he says, how much you got? I said, I got a couple $1,000. I had saved up maybe $1,500 or whatever. And I said, what do I need to have one of those margin accounts? I said, it says you only have to put up 10%. So with $1,500, I can buy $15,000 worth of stock. They said, yes, you can, Mr. Sugarman, and everything else. They never asked me my age.
Interesting.
I was 16. Never asked me my age. And it was Merrill Lynch in those days. And I think the broker was Smith, a guy named Smith. And I saw this stock I'd watch the stocks that would go up and down, because then you could buy it and then it goes up, you sell it, and it goes down. So I started doing that. I was doing good. I was doing really well for about a month or 2 months. And then in the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and it was up to like $14,000 or something, $15,000 back in those days. I didn't pay attention to school at all that minute. And I'm going to the phone booth all the time. And then all I know is I hear on the loudspeaker my name, Lloyd Sugarman, please come to the principal's office immediately. I said, shit, what's going on? So I go to the principal. He says, have you been going to the phone booth and making phone calls and calling a stockbroker? I said, yeah. Well, but I'm doing it in between classes. I'm not disturbing anybody or anything. Yeah. Well, they're looking for you right now. The stock that you have, this RH Ho company, has just suspended trading for fraudulent investigation. And the stock is in the toilet. And you
Have a
put
margin
things-
call.
You have a margin call. And it's substantial. So, geez, I said, you better call this guy back. So I called him back. He says, you're not going to owe us like a lot of money. You owe us, thousands of dollars. It could be, it was 10 or 12,000 that I owed.
Whoa.
I said, listen, can I ask you something? I listened to everything he said. Do you have to be a certain age, like 18 or anything else, to open an account? Yeah, why? I said, well, I wasn't sure about that, and nobody asked me, but I'm just 16. He started screaming and yelling at me, and then he said, you'll never trade again. You'll never do that. And I said, okay, well, that was it. They called my father and everything, and obviously he never should have taken an order. They were too hungry to get the business.
Right.
And that was my stock market 16-year-old experience. So that's a true story. Mr. Kosher, they called me in there. That was really a scary moment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh,
You
my
must have
goodness.
thought Did you believe him when he said you'd never trade stocks again?
I didn't even think about it. I just was so nervous. How can I come up with the money? They're going to go to my parent. It wasn't my father's responsibility because they had no right to take my order.
Right.
Wow.
That's
You got very lucky.
Yeah, and today it's probably 50% margin. They don't even do that anymore.
right.
No. Yeah, you can't.
So with $1,500, I was just so excited to buy all that stock with $1,500.
Only with crypto.
Everyone goes, yeah, right. That's a scary world too.
Only
Sounds
do
like
that
the
with
same
crypto.
type of world. Yeah.
Do you buy stocks now?
No, not very much. I don't have very good luck in the stock market. It just doesn't. I think you have to really know somewhat of what you're doing. You have to let it sit and invest in the business, not just look at the ups and downs of the stock market. I don't think anybody really. There's not many people that win that way. I don't think.
No.
But if you buy the business, like Warren Buffett does, that's how he invests, and obviously, the history track shows its success.
He just sold a bunch of stock. Did you see that a few months ago?
No, what did he sell?
He sold.
He owns a ton
30
of Apple. He owns a ton of Coca-Cola.
He just started dumping a lot of holdings in the stock market. And Michael Burry, the same guy who was talking about 2008, is saying
Wow.
that there's going to be.
Well, it sounds
a
like
squeeze.
they believe that we're going to have a hell of a recession.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do. I feel it, especially with what's going on now, which is unreal in the Middle East and everything else. It's beyond comprehension.
How does that make you feel going into opening a sugar factory in Boston on a happier note?
No, I think we have our space, and it's for entertainment. It's for special occasions. We create memorable experiences in special occasions. So I think people will still have their birthdays and special occasions. Maybe they don't go out quite as much during the week or something like that, but there's always a balance, and I think everything will adjust. We'll go through all that. I've been through them before with Johnny Rockets and everything else. So,
How do you deal with stress? Is there a place you go?
no, I
Like in
I
your
take a
head?
day at a time. I take a day at a time.
Just as much
Yeah.
as being
Well,
in the
I think
moment?
stress is the things that you can't control.
Right.
The things you control don't really create the stress. But no, they're challenging. I mean, you have to be a little off balance to do the things people like me do. What can I tell you?
But I think that's
the
great.
real
I think
saying,
that's great.
the real saying,
that's
don't do it.
It looks
like
great,
that.
by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
The new design.
Yeah. So the other thing is, somebody once said to me, you should not risk what you have for what you don't have. But people like me do that all the time.
Why? Why are you comfortable with that?
I'm not comfortable. It's just something that we do. Why does Paul McCartney still sing and go to concerts? He doesn't have to go to concerts and things like that anymore. It's because of what we do.
How'd you figure out that was your game in life?
I knew that I had to find my own niche and to find things. What I do is I look for things that I believe are going to do well in the future. Like our PokeWorks. I discovered I was the first one to do this brand called PokeWorks. They just opened up. Nobody even knew what Poke was on the average person. But I just knew that would be the right thing. And now it's reaching a maturity level and so forth. The same thing with wraps. I remember being in San Francisco when I saw Johnny Rockets, and a fellow opened up, a couple kids from Stanford opened up a place. They were burritos, but they called them World Wraps. And the lines were crazy. And I went over there and I said, what they did is these are a couple of kids that went around the world, and instead of calling them burritos, they called them Thai wrap. They called it this wrap, chicken wrap, all those different things.
Smart.
And
That's very smart.
Yeah, and it was called World Wraps. So they had a success. But then I looked at it and I said, it's really a menu item name that you'll see everywhere in time. It's not a concept. See, Sugar Factory is a concept with a lot of things involved. Brasserie, it's Sugar Factory Brasserie. In Johnny Rockets, it was concept. So I was afraid of that to that extent because it was too much of a menu item and not a concept. But it was a great idea. And now we saw wraps all over the, that word's like a secondary word on a menu to, the Taco Bells and all the other places like that.
So do you get a gut feeling?
There's no question. I can walk in, I can tell, I can just feel it.
Right.
Yeah. And I look for it. So as opposed to my son who's creating his own concept.
Mavens.
Yes, that's right.
Very excited.
And so it is. The amount of press, the amount of exposure he's gotten is beyond it's beyond what I would have thought. Yeah, he really does. But he's very authentic the way that he went around the country and everything else and did all the research on it. Everywhere to Canada for Schwartz's and the one in New York City, Cantor's and all Second Avenue. He went to many, California, San Francisco. He went to so many. It's going to be very good. It's delicious.
Have you tried it? I'm sure you have.
Oh, no, different foods. Yeah, I have. Yeah. But it's very, very good. It's very authentic. It's very good. It's going to be delicious. He's going to have raving reviews on the food.
I've never been to a Poke Works, but my friends dragged me to this Poke place right down the street from where they live, and it was god-awful.
I would think so. Okay, you got to go to Thayer Street, go
Okay.
to Poke Works, and with the freshness and the sauces and everything else, that's what happens with these concepts. If people copy them, they don't necessarily copy it correctly. They leave things out. They try to cheapen it. They try to, whatever it might do. And we've never been involved with something like that. No, Poke Works is phenomenal. It's a 4.0 and it's very busy and it does well. 50% of the business is to go and delivery and those types of things.
I remember after the grand opening of In the Pink, I saw you walk over there and try one.
No, I'm always trying.
You always go?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
I will go.
I always eat our
Next
food.
time I'm there. Yeah, next time.
No,
I'm
you'll
there,
be very
I'll go.
pleasantly surprised. Get the house dressing, get what you like. You'll be very surprised. It's too bad you got the exposure supposedly from a place that's not good.
Yeah,
And
terrible.
That's what happens. It's like yogurt back then. Yogurt was very, very hot. And Pinkberry is the ones that did it the right way. So Pinkberry outlasted
Love
all the
Pinkberry.
other ones. Exactly. Because the quality and stuff was there. This is the Pinkberry of Poke, is Poke Works.
Okay, I will
That's the
try it.
analogy I would give
What
it.
should I order?
Oh, no, you just go in there, you order what you like. It's like
Okay.
going to a Chipotle front and you order what you want, what you take. You know what I mean? But get the house dressing. The house dressing is really good.
Okay, we'll try that.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know.
Did you always like restaurants?
I like concepts. That's what it was. It was concepts. So in creating, it's like the first thing I did in Rhode Island in real estate and everything was there was an old dilapidated car wash and I was just getting married. So I saw the opportunity, but what I did is I wanted to raise all the equipment. The opportunity I saw was this vans and pickups. They didn't call them SUVs back then. So it was 1977. I was a kid. So we raised all the equipment because that's the only way to do it.
How old were you?
20, maybe 20. So we raised all the equipment. And
Literally.
yeah.
So they fit.
That's correct. And I would advertise as miracle because a relative said to me, it'd be a miracle if you can do anything right. So I said, that's a great name. I'm going to take that name. So my God, that's what happened. So I said, what'd you say? He said, it's a miracle if I can do something right. Thank you. That's a great name. So I called it Miracle Car and Van Wash. So we raised everything up. And it's probably one of the busiest full-service car washes still to this day. I sold the business to a guy after many years, a fellow named Tony Car Washing with a K, Washin. And like my name's Lloyd Sugarman from Sugar Factory, but I didn't develop it. So Tony Car Washing to this day runs and owns the business of Miracle Car and Van Wash.
I was just talking to his wife.
Oh, she's
Get
a nice
out.
lady.
And
So yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, she's a really nice lady.
We wash our
Yes.
car there.
Oh,
have
do
our
you
car
really?
have
It's
our
the
car
best.
washed.
Lloyd,
there.
it's the only car wash in Rhode Island that I'll take my car to.
I get it. He does it the right way. It's perfect all the time.
Still.
Yep. That's so
we
funny.
tried-
Did you know I was affiliated, or you heard that I did? No, you didn't.
Well, I
Oh,
told you
told
after
him,
we
but-
met.
Oh,
Yes.
but you didn't know before that.
I didn't know
No.
before.
That's so funny. You were going there. It's
And
so
I was
funny.
going there.
Yeah. So I always went for the quality. And Rhonda used to run the register, and we added all the miracle specials and all that kind of stuff. Is what we did. Nobody was doing it back then. Nobody was doing vans. So we immediately did a good volume because of all the pickups and vans, and I got the gas company, different companies I'd get as an account. That's what
They still run the Christmas
that's
special.
Right. Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's right. He still does it. He kept all the stuff that we did plus added to it. He has a new ceramic wash I like, so I'm doing that too. But anyway, yeah, that's how I started Reservoir. And then I had this one customer. I remember he was Elliott Buick.
Oh.
And Elliott Buick, Dexter Buick. It was Dexter Cohen. And he was a customer. He'd run all his cars. He was down the street. He had a new building at the time down the street, and he would run all his leased cars through the car wash. And I was fascinated by the fact that how could this fella have so many, finance so many cars, right? And that's before 1980. So I said, I got to find out. So I looked at one of his registrations, and I saw that it was registered by financed Rhode Island Hospital Trust. So I called up Rhode Island Hospital Trust. I said, I'm just fascinated by this. Could you help me out? Who does the leasing, financing? A guy named Bill Walsh picked up the phone, and he said yes. And I said, well, I'm kind of confused by this. How can you have so many cars under one dealership? I mean, like 100 to 200. I don't get it. He says, well, young fella, let me tell you, it's not his credit. I said, oh, really? How do they do that? And he says, well, it's the customer's credit, but he owns the car. That's right. So he said, why don't you come on down and see me? So I just got an approval to put a little auto dealership in front. So I had the Miracle Auto Sales just to have it because I didn't want to waste that space and stuff. So I said, this is amazing. I said, Mr. Walsh, can I become an agent for you? Can I lease cars? He said, sure. I'll sign you up. So we did. And I was fascinated by it because here you can have the depreciation, own the car, and yet the customer, the guest, was doing it. And I could get free car washes if you lease a car from us. So we got started on that. I ended up being, in 1980, I was a General Electric auto lease. Went into the business. A guy named Russ Martin, I heard about, and I called him up, and I said, Mr. Martin, I heard you have a $35 insurance rate. I heard that in Massachusetts, you tied up somebody on an exclusive. I'd like to talk to you. So I got together with him. He says, yep, I'm going to sign you up. You qualify. You're General Electric auto lease, agent. You're all set. Well, the dealers weren't really doing leasing in those days. So I went to Inskip. Harper Clifford was his name. I went to Inskip. I said, Mr. Clifford, I'm going to give you your Mercedes. I can give your Mercedes $35 insurance rates on all your cars as long as the person has a good, clean record of driving. So that's ridiculous. I said, no, I'm going to do that. I have the right to do that as an agent. I said, can I talk to your salespeople and I'll have a program for them and do it. So now I'm leasing a lot of cars. I go to Boston and I go to all the Mercedes, Jaguar, all that stuff. I remember Jay Kaplan's fella and everything. And we're leasing a lot of cars. And I would sell it that it's only going to cost $20 more a month, which all it was, and have a thing. So that was great. For about 2 years, I was very excited. I started to have a franchise for leasing and stuff like that. I had a little problem. I got a phone call from a customer about 3 years later. He says, excuse me, we leased our car from whatever dealership it was, and they said to call you that there's a problem with our insurance. So what's that? He said, well, when we signed this up, it was $35, and it's been 2 years now, and now I just got a bill for about $140 for the month. I said, that's ridiculous. It's General Electric credit. It's General Electric. Those are our light bulbs. They can't be changing the credit, the thing, right? I can't believe that. I called up Russ Martin. He says, Lloyd, I'm really sorry to tell you, we bought Liberty Mutual, and everything was going great. He had a lot of reasons and excuses, but he's right. We're not honoring the $35 anymore. I said, oh, wow. I just got caught from General Electric, my light bulb company that I idolized all my life. They just did a job on me and everybody else in this industry. So I said, I think I've had it with the leasing business right now. I'm not going to lease any more cars, and I stopped doing that. But I was fascinated by that. We did really well for a while.
General Electric under Bill Walsh became the financial go-to. I mean,
let me tell you, they had a 10% investment tax credit on the cars. So every car they leased, they were getting a 10% write-off. I think that's when that went away. Then they got rid of all the
1986, that went away.
Oh, wow. You remember that? Okay.
All the investment banks got out of the leasing business.
It's unbelievable that you know this. Okay.
And then that left a void.
Yep.
And that typical investment banking on equipment came into the retail side
Wow.
through normal brokers and financial planners.
I'm fascinated. I know that you knew about that experience. That's unbelievable. So I lived through all of that. And then I think it was then my son was born in 82. And I said my sister had psoriatic arthritis, and she had married a friend. And I remember Dr. Austin from Boston. There was a new, that was her doctor. Dr. Austin from Boston was her doctor. And he went and there was a new Enbrel or something when it was just on experimental stage. Amgen actually did it. Enbrel, I think it was. And it was working for her, but they decided to move to Arizona where it would be dry. And because of all the arthritis, it didn't. She was doing well there. So I said to my wife, I said, you know what? I think I'd like to go to, I don't want to be in Rhode Island my whole life. And I said, she's from New York. She's from Long Island. And she says, yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm okay with that. So we leased out the car wash, kept the property there, and the auto thing. And I said, let's go to Arizona. Let's go. So we did. The mistake I made was going in July. So we moved in
100 and what?
It's unusually warm this year. Every year it's unusually hot. And usually hot's between 110, 120, 115. If you get a nice day at 105 or 6, it's really a nice day. You can when she opened the car door, you have to put like like a towel or something. You burn your hand. So she said, Lloyd, there's tumbleweed, there's scorpions. Humans are not supposed to be here.
Leave this to scorpions.
Where the hell did you put us? If there wasn't air conditioning, these people would all be dead.
Right.
So I said, okay, we're going to stay here. Okay. So now I said, well, we can do some things here. So I took over, and as a young guy, I took over the auto leasing department because I knew the business from a dealership called, it was Camelback Nissan, not Datsun in those days. And the Van Tiles, this guy Larry Van Tile was developing a lot of dealerships, like a lot and stuff. And I was fascinated by him, so I went to work there. But I wasn't really happy in that environment as far as growth and everything. So I went to a street that I felt would be like Thayer Street in Providence, next to ASU. I said, look, I walked the street. I tried to find some property. It was difficult. And then I saw this old movie theater. Walked into the old movie theater. They're playing all kinds of junk, and it was part of the building. And I said to the fellow, I said, what's going on here? What is, and he explained to me. And I said, they weren't doing any business to speak of. I said, is this building for sale? And obviously I'm telling you the story, it was for sale. So this is the oldest running movie theater in the state of Arizona. It's called the Valley Art Movie Theater. So he said, yeah, they've been trying to sell it. This fellow's trying to buy it. You can call up the broker. I called up the broker. I said, what if I could close quickly because somebody else was trying to buy it? The price was $140,000. No, I think it was $145,000. And this fellow was offering $135 or whatever it was. He was playing around with him. He said, I'm really not happy with this buyer. If you come up with that money and no contingencies, and you come up with the money you want to buy that theater, we'll sell you that theater right away. And we'll kill the other, forget about the other guy. So I went and financed my car wash. I got some more money out of the car wash building. And I was able to get the $140 to pay for it, $142. And I bought the Valley Art Movie Theater. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with this theater. So I'm working in the auto dealership leasing cars, and now I got the theater, which I'm all excited to have the theater. So my wife found a Cochise. It was Cochise movie theater that was changing and clean and doing whatever they're doing. We bought all the chairs from there for a few $1,000, whatever it was. We gutted the place, cleaned it all up, made it and turned it to the Rocky Horror shows next to the college, and we did it into a $1 movie house, and it did really well. And I wanted to rent the space next door. I was looking for concepts to do that. So that was 1984 or 5. I was so excited. I was on the front page of whole story about it in the Tempe newspaper back then. It's probably still in the internet, I'm sure. So I went ahead and I did that, and then I said, I got to find something. So around the corner from us in Tempe was something I heard about. It was a young couple. they were hippies with patchouli oil and all this stuff, and smelled in there and everything else. So and they were making
We have
ice
patchouli
cream.
oil, but anyway, go ahead.
It was
You're a
smelling.
hippie. You're a
Not many
hippie.
people
I'm
know
not
what
a
it is.
hippie.
No, I
You're
know,
a
but not
hippie.
many people know what
No,
that
it's
is.
because of
right?
my wife.
Okay, but not many people know patchouli
Right.
oil. So that's what they had, a lot of that. And I walked, and they were making ice cream. And they were making ice cream and putting it together.
It wasn't
Doing
flavored
those-
with patchouli oil, was
No,
it?
it wasn't.
No,
the
no,
place
no.
just smelled like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I talked to him, and I said, "This is a brilliant idea. I've got the movie theater there. I've got space next door. Why don't we put one next door? It's not too far away. It's a different market, in the college market." "Nah, man, we don't want to do that. We're really happy. Blah blah blah." They were packed. They were doing really well. It was called ColdStone Creamery. So I kept nagging them to try to do that, but they
read
didn't want
about
to do
this.
it. And they went ahead, and somebody else came in and made a deal with them and bought it. So I kept looking for something. And that's when I heard that Johnny Rockets, on one of my flights, because I checked out a concept in LA San Francisco, and I heard about this on the plane. I would talk to a lot of people. In case you can't tell, I can talk a little bit. So
Stop 1 second.
Go ahead.
That is wild to me that you would mention Tempe, Arizona, because after I stopped wholesaling, I did consulting work for one of my friends who owned a leasing company, and they did all computers.
Wow.
They had to sue Tempe, Arizona. Like, this is
crazy.
wild to me. They had provided all the Wi-Fi equipment for the city.
Wow.
And then the city was reneging on all these things that they said they would do in the contract.
That's hysterical.
So that is really weird.
Mill Avenue in Tempe. And I thought that was a future like Thayer Street on steroids.
Right.
And there was a dump at the time I was there. So I had this, blighted theater building, and went ahead and do it, and I rented the space next door. This guy kept calling me up, and he said, "You bought that building. I'm the other guy who was bidding against you. You had no right to buy that building." I said, "Why? Why didn't you just step up and pay it?" Okay, you beat me on the price, but we got to work something out. I said, "Why?" "You don't understand. I was conceived in that theater." I said, "What?" I said, are you for real? He said, "Yes." "No, it's not like that. My father was a projectionist. My mother was the popcorn candy person, and they had a little apartment upstairs." I said, "Why don't you just say your parents lived there?" And I was conceived in that building. I have to own that building. So this went on for like 3 years. He'd call me every few months. And it went on. And finally, when I found Johnny Rockets, Ron Teitelbaum and I really hit it off and going to do it. He wanted me to go to the Bay Area. And I was really excited. I said, "Ron," he's like 15 years older than me. And he says, "I like you and your wife. I think you could do this. This would be great." And
But they weren't that enthusiastic up front.
Teitelbaum? No, he was okay because he knew I didn't know I had manufactured one part I left out. I had manufactured some shirts, and that's a different story. In 1975, and it was red hot for a couple of years until everybody copied me, and he was one of my customers. He had a very special clothing store in L.A.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it at that time, so that's why I was able to break through to Ron, because I fell in love with the concept. I knew it was 100%, and there was no question it could be a national brand, international brand. So when I found that I just wanted to get involved in that. So I called this guy back who was conceived in the building, and he said, "Look, I need $500,000." I told him, "I got to have 500 because I knew I needed money for Johnny Rockets, and that's all I had." So we negotiated. He said, "Okay, I'm going to buy it. Okay, I'm going to buy it." He said, "Because this is going to be a legendary monument thing for my family." I said, "Well, what do you do?" His name's Dan. So what do you do? He said, "Well, my father had one other theater. I have one theater. But I'm going to build a chain." His name's Dan Harkins. He's the largest independent theater owner, probably one in the country, but in Arizona, it's all Harkins theaters. So that's the crazy kid who was calling me that was conceived in that building, and he did that. He kept that as his family traditional building, but he grew. And Dan, I spoke to him a couple of years ago. He was for real. That's what he did, and that was his goal in life, and that's what he did. We were about the same age, so that was interesting. So I sold it to Dan Harkins, and that was a crazy story. My Tempe, Arizona story. And that's what that was. So when Ron said to me, let's go to the Bay Area, that's where I want you to go. Lloyd, if you don't mind, I don't really like Arizona. I said, really? So Rhonda had a big smile on her face. So that's great. She said, let's go. I said, you're not going to believe this, Ron? I'm from Rhode Island. The Bay State's right next to me. I love Boston, Massachusetts, and everything. I said, what are you talking about? It's the Bay State, right? He says, no.
Bay
look,
Area.
Did you ever hear of San Francisco? He says to me. I said, yeah, why? I like San Francisco. He says, well, that's the Bay Area, Lloyd. I said, Ron, I've never heard anybody refer to it at that time as the Bay Area. Why is it considered the Bay Area? Well, it's on the Bay. Yeah, but the Bay State. Oh, it's okay. Okay. Ron, do you like? I love San Francisco. We're going to San Francisco. And we actually, she was very happy because she's from Queens, New York. And she was not a fan of Arizona, as I said. So that's my story, how we got to Johnny Rockets and we started developing it in the Bay Area where Ron was in LA. We did a 50-50 partnership. So he said, Lloyd, you don't have enough money to build one of these things. And no one's going to finance us. There's only one store. It's only been open a month. Right?
Oh, that's how early you
get in.
in.
Oh, he's within weeks. I
wow.
had it, yeah. So
did Ruther Sutherland or Keith, what's his first name, Sutherland, have anything to do with your interest in Johnny Rockets?
Why do I know Keith Sutherland? How come I know him? How did you get? You're teasing my memory. Tell me how that happened.
You gave in another article, you said that you walked into Johnny Rockets and you spoke to the
Keith,
general.
Oh, you're talking about the actor. Yeah, he was standing in front of me. Yeah,
yes.
he was standing in front of me at Johnny Rockets. Yeah, I forgot when you said that. Yes, and I had a few stars that were in front of me. And so I was fascinated. I'm a kid from Rhode Island, all excited with all that. So, and I didn't leave, right? I didn't leave. There were only 20 seats. There's only 20 seats in Johnny Rockets, the original Johnny Rockets. And I tried everything on the menu. It was about 5 or 6 things, and I tried every shake. So I didn't like egg salad. I never ate egg salad. So I wouldn't have the egg salad, but the tuna and everything, I ate the whole menu, and I stayed there. I fell in love with the place. I knew everything he was doing was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. There was actually a little place I used to go to as a kid, and it was called the Cozy House. And the Cozy House, Ralph and Virginia on Park Avenue in Cranston. And when I'd come in, she knew it was Seal Test Ice Cream. Virginia was the wife's name, Ralph and Virginia. And they knew exactly what I wanted. So they'd have it, they'd bring the shake over there, and they say, hi, Lloyd, here, my shake and stuff. I'm a little kid, and I'm so excited. And it reminiscent and brought back all of those thoughts.
Right.
And that's what Ron really created with Johnny Rockets, is the way we used to have it. And it was, it was personal. It wasn't like a machine like McDonald's was at that time, and no relationship. So I really liked that, and I could see the future in what we could do with Johnny Rockets. So that's how I got involved. So Ron said, you're really lucky because you have half the money to do it. My father likes you and Rhonda, and he's got the other half. So you guys are now partners. And that's so I partnered with his dad. And we opened up the second or third Johnny Rockets and started growing it from there. And then many, many stories. All of these brands have many, many stories. So that's how we ended up in San Francisco. And my wife, to her credit, found a little town called Tiburon, where it didn't seem very expensive. Went there, it was like unbelievable. It's like a Jamestown to Boston almost. It's almost like that. They have Sausalito that's commercial, like Newport, and then there's Tiburon that's not commercial but absolutely beautiful, right on the water. It's gorgeous. My kids went to school there.
Remember, I was telling you the CEO of the company I wholesaled for lived there. Right
Yes,
on,
you did. Yes,
the house
in
on
Belvedere or in Tiburon.
Yeah, right on the water, on
That's
the
right.
pilings.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
That's right. I know exactly
Incredible.
what it was. Yeah.
I used to go there all the time.
It's one of the most beautiful places in our country to live.
You'll have to show me pictures.
And
I'd
the
love to
weather's
see it.
phenomenal. I mean, it's just great.
It's really a
Breathtaking,
slice of
isn't it?
heaven there.
Yeah. Rhonda was mad when I moved. When we moved, yeah, moved back. When we moved back to Rhode Island, don't you want to move back to Rhode Island? But anyway, that's many years later. Yeah,
When you
we were there
walked
for
into
12
a
years.
small coffee shop in Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Boy, you got a good memory. You did your homework pretty well. So now we're running Johnny Rockets, and there's a franchisee that's having problems, and we're going to take it over. So I fly out there to take it over. Around the corner from there was a little coffee shop that I really liked. And I kept going in there. And I said, this is a winner. They got about 38 stores. So it was Starbucks. Nobody ever heard of it at that time. So I called my real estate guy, Arthur Rubenfeld, and I said, Artie, you got to find out about this brand. I said, see if they're going to franchise, what they're going to do. And he called me back, nicknamed Shuggy, and he says, let me ask you something, Shuggy. Could you see one of these on every corner or anything like that? I said, no, now you're getting crazy, Arthur. I think if you call them up, maybe you could put a couple in San Francisco. We could, every corner. Why do you even say that? Nah, never mind. Don't. I just curious what you think. And he kept asking me about it. So when I get back to San Francisco, we live in the same town. I saw him and he said, "Come on over here. I want to talk to you." He said, I'm not going to be able to handle your account anymore. I said, "Why? Are you becoming that successful in the stores you have? You want to get?" "No, you don't understand. I'm giving it to this fella here, Meet Mike or whatever his name. He's going to handle the account because I'm going to move." I said, "Where are you going?" "Well, I found this concept. This concept is a story here up in Seattle, and I'm going to be head of real estate and architectural design for this company called Starbucks." I said, "You son of a gun. How could you not?" He said, "What I didn't tell you was when I was an architect in New York, I would go to this bar down the street from us, and this other guy would go to this bar down the street from us. We're both from Brooklyn. We grew up in Brooklyn. I was working for Leona Hemsley as the architect. I hated it. And he was selling equipment and coffee stuff. And we just hanging out together. So he bought this little company in Seattle, and it wasn't doing well, a coffee company. So he went and found another company, and he borrowed the money from the fellow who started Costco. And he just bought this company. It was for like $3 million called Starbucks. And he wants me to come up and handle all the real estate and all the architectural design. And I wasn't smart enough to continue to call Arthur about that because we were friends and I didn't like to impede on friendship. So I never did very much with Starbucks. But that's an opportunity or the stock. But that went pretty crazy. And being in San Francisco, it was Pete's Coffee that we knew and all that. And there was a war between Pete's and Starbucks. You couldn't, this stuff. Starbucks couldn't go to Seattle, and Pete's couldn't go to San Francisco for a long time. But Arthur, that's how I got involved in that. We were going to buy some buildings together and stuff. I knew him pretty well.
You said the one person you'd want to meet, or one of the people you'd like to meet, is Howard Schultz.
Well, no, I mean, that's okay. I'm good with that because meeting Arthur and being with Arthur, knowing Arthur well enough is fine. I'm good with that. I was very, very impressed, and the person who had the biggest influence on me in a short period of time, just spending time with him, was Mickey Drexler. I was very, very impressed with him. That's who he became the chairman of our company when we did I was the point person for the road show, and I was very lucky that we put Mickey together. He was in San Francisco and he was a guest, and he loved Johnny Rockets too. We agreed, and we thought we could really do it. He ended up being the chairman of our company. I had so much respect for him. He's a very talented visionary on the way he does everything. So I was pretty impressed. You know the name? You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, okay. He created. He was Ann Taylor's. He was running Ann Taylor's, and he built Ann Taylor at the time. And then he saw an opportunity and was hired by the Fisher family because they were having trouble with the Gap, and he went and turned the Gap from what they were into the national brand that they are. And then he did Banana Republic and Old Navy. Wow. He's probably one of the best retailers in the world. Yeah, and really, really down to earth and talented. And there's many stories. And he got involved in Johnny Rockets and it was very good. We had fun, but we never went public. So that's why I came back to the East Coast after I sold all my stores and started putting Johnny Rockets on the East Coast. And that's what we did. Yeah.
So how many
I still have 9, but we had more. But I had a passion for casinos. I believed in the casino business because I saw the growth there and I saw the immediate opportunities in them. That's what I kind of focused on for a while. And I created the concept of the mall. I started singing and dancing at Johnny Rockets' first time ever in a store and in a restaurant. We had singing and dancing. And it was really a couple of people on Melrose Avenue because there's so many, everybody's in between movies. You know what I mean? In between movies, and one girl was a comedian, the other girl was a dancer, and they were really fooling around inside of Johnny Rockets. And they had a song and everything. So I was with Ron, and he came in, and he says, Lloyd, what's going on in here? I said, why? They're fooling around. Look at them. They're singing and they're dancing and everything else. We got to get the food out. It's lunchtime. What the hell's going on here? I said, Ron. Just hold on. Okay. I said, we go outside and I said, come on inside back for a second. The place burst out, laughing, clapping, because this was very natural. They were very good. And her name was Rosie. I forget the other girl's name. And they had a whole dance and routine, and they would do it when the song came on. Chicago was the song that came on. So he says, get out here right now. I said, what's the matter? I told you, you got to straighten this out to have a real song and dance. That's how you have to do it. He switched around, right? I said, really, Ron? Didn't you hear me? This is the right thing to do. He knew that's the personality he had. He knew when it was right. After it's yelling at me, you got to stop this, you got to stop this. He saw it and did it. He said, get out here. You better straighten this. We got a routine here. This is what we have to do. Started singing and dancing. First restaurant ever to have singing and dancing inside of a restaurant. And we were copied by Texas Roadhouse. Many brands copied us. California Pizza Kitchen copied us because we put name tags on there from where you're from. I believe that was the way Rhonda and I saw that someplace. And I think it was in Tahoe in a hotel. And I said, that's a way to start a conversation. Oh, yours says New York? Oh, whereabouts in New York from? So it starts the interaction between the server and the thing. And that's been copied many times as well.
You also oversaw a big reboot of Johnny Rockets. What
we had to. So it was after being in Johnny Rockets for the brand being around for, 25 years, 20 years. I said, look, we got to remodel this thing in Mohegan Sun and in Providence, and we got to do the next level. So I'd call the CEO at the time, and he says, look, we don't have any new style. The brand's timeless. I was not going to come up with something. So I went to see, I had a lot of respect for Morris Nathanson and Josh Nathanson and his family. They're designers here in Rhode Island. That actually, Josh and his dad, Morris did the first Dunkin' Donuts. He was a professor of design and architectural in RISD. Extremely talented man, and his whole family was. So they did just the first Capitol Grill, the creation from Hemingway's to, and also 80% of all the restaurants on the Royal Caribbean ships, they did as well.
Wow.
So, no, very, very talented. So all over the world and concepts in Europe and everything. So I went to see Josh. I said, Josh, what do I do? I said, our brand's 20 years old. He says, you know what? That's a good question. He thought about it. He says, let me show you something. Brings out this big book, and it was called Googie Architecture. He says, you're an LA concept. You're Art Deco. Googie Architecture is the 60s. In the 70s, 60s, like the Laughing, you wouldn't know this, but the Laughing days and things like that. He said, look at these designs. There's still there's a Norm's restaurant in LA where the big glass is there and they have a toaster on the table and they bring the bread over to you and you toast your own toast and stuff. And they have this big glass. That was Googie Architecture, the building itself. So we copied, he did his own rendition, which we agreed on and everything else, of Googie Architecture. Look, you're 20 years old, move it up 20 years in LA. And that's what we did. And that became the new look that you see at Providence Place or Mohegan Sun. And it was started here and it became the new look of Johnny Rockets at that time.
And were they open to that change?
Well, they didn't have a change. So what they did is when I did this and said we need it, they sent some other people out, franchisees and everyone else and designers, and came up with all different designs. So I flew out there with Josh. And after they looked at their stuff and we showed them our stuff with reason of LA Googie Architecture and everything else, they all went crazy. So this is it. So the fella, I'm no longer involved in the company at that time, a franchisee. So the fella who was head of franchising, Chris Carver, the room's quiet. There's about 20 people in the room and Josh just made the presentation. Everything's very quiet. And he gets up and he says, Lloyd, you must be so excited. After not being involved in the company on a daily basis or anything, you as a franchisee, you just brought to us the future look and design of Johnny Rockets. I said, well, Josh, how does this work in this business? He says, well, you paid me, so you own the design. Oh, I own the design? Oh, wait a minute, guys. I own the new design of Johnny Rockets. Now I'm very excited. So the CEO gets up and he says, wait, Lloyd. In order to use the design, you need our permission. Okay. So I'll tell you what, how much did you pay for it? It was a lot. It was like $40,000 or something. So he said, get so-and-so in here. Get him a check right now. We're going to give you your money back right now, and this is the new design that we own. I said, oh, okay, if that's the way it has to be. I didn't like, am I excited? Okay, but that's what happened.
Oh, you let him, why?
Well, I had to get their permission to use right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so at least I got completely reimbursed.
So how many franchises do you have now across every? Because you had yogurt. You had yogurt.
Well, for a short time when the yogurt business was the yogurt business, but I knew it had a life. And that worries me about PokeWorks, although we're so much better. Like you said, they're starting to copy and all that other stuff. We're so much better. We'll have a longer life. Pinkberry has a longer life, but it has a life. So so we have that. We have...
do you have good time? Do you have good gut timing for that life cycle?
You try to anticipate it, then you can see it. It's okay, yes, but you were never 100% right.
No.
It's like you in the stock market or something.
Right.
Because we always think we can get some more length out of it more time. I also recreated the Soup Man concept.
This guy makes the best soup in the city, Jerry. The best. You know what they call him? Soup Nazi. No soup for you.
He's yelling from the kitchen, Dad, do you remember the Soup Nazi or the Soup Man or something? Because he had no idea.
Right.
I said, you talking about the Seinfeld?
That's right. that episode, that's what that was all about. And there was a guy who made a deal with that original guy, and he didn't really have a direction on a branding. So it was Morris Nathan's family. It was his daughter that designed for us when they needed it. But he had made a deal at Mohegan Sun, but he didn't know what else to do. He was going to bring a pretzel in with it or something like that. So my son Jason came up with the idea too, and he was right, of doing these sandwiches and all those kinds of things, and we did very well with it. We still have one in Atlantic City I'm involved in it. I'm a part owner of that resort casino food court called Quick Bites, and we have a real successful soup man over there. But just recently, we had the one in Mohegan for about 15 years, but they just took that area out and they're putting a new restaurant concept in there, which they do from time to time in that area where we had soup. Yeah. So it was misdirected by the guy who made the deal with him. I wasn't really comfortable with some of the things they were doing and stuff, so I just stayed as a franchisee and didn't get involved anymore. But we could have made it very successful because it was a package I was fascinated with called Tetra packaging, which I learned. And it was in Europe, and they didn't do it here in the U.S. at that time. And what it was is you could take milk, and you could keep the milk in these cartons, and it would last for a long time. And people would buy everything from milk to soup to everything. And I could see the future of Tetra. And that's why I liked it, because we could take the soups and put them in the Tetra packaging. And that's what we did for a little bit of time, but just misdirected. Some of the people in the company weren't the right people. I didn't stay with it. But I was fascinated because Tim Gannon had called me and said, we talk to each other. And he started Outback Steakhouse and created the Blooming Onion. So he said, you come here and you do this, Lloyd. I'll be chairman of the company and all these other things. And I thought we had great opportunity because of that.
Because Shaq was involved in that business.
Yes, he was, Shaq, because he loved the lobster bisque. So I remember the pictures I have with Shaq and everything else, and I would spend time with him. He's an interesting guy. He's a character.
What's it like to work with Shaquille O'Neal?
No, it was just one of his concepts. So he just liked the lobster a lot.
I saw the quote. I like the bisque. It's got lobster chunks in it.
That's right. That's it. That's all he's about. He simplifies it. But the most successful people I've met in the world on different concepts have the ability to simplify, not complicate.
Right.
That's what so I look for simplification.
How much time did you spend at Soup Man? And why did it?
Well, I did it to help out the Mohegan Sun spot. And when I did that and met the fellow that put the deal together, I said, okay. And he kept drawing me in. And it was when I saw Tim Gannon get involved in the Tetra packaging that I got excited. And I said, okay, I'll be part of the company at that time. But again, I didn't like some of the financing they did and some of the other things. I wouldn't even sign a check for that company. So I was running it to that point of creating the franchise and everything else. But I said, you know what, I'm going to keep my franchise thing. Get somebody else to do this job. I'm not going to be CEO or anything. Just get somebody else to do it, and I'll stay with the franchise thing. So the guy who they got was a fellow who, what is it called? Steve Madden Sneakers. He was the lawyer who took over for Steve Madden. And you know, what's the name of that movie? The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
So when the Wolf of Wall Street story, and it was Steve Madden. This fella took over Steve Madden Sneakers and really was building it up. He was an attorney for when the fella from Steve Madden had to spend some time away, he came and built the company. So he got him to take over. I said, let him take it. That's fine. That's a good exit. I respect his talent. Bye. I'll see you later. I'm just taking the franchise. But they got into some issues and stuff, and I just said, I don't want to be part of this. So I walked away. You get an uncomfortable feeling with certain people. Just know.
You know.
Yeah.
And you can't go against that.
If you do, you're going to have a problem because your gut's telling you for a lot of reasons. Your gut is really a bunch of stuff that you've learned over the years. So don't fight it. And I just said I'll be a franchisee here. You know.
And what I share with young people is it takes practice. You know.
Yeah, it's what you learn from
like you were saying. It's cumulative.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
You just don't not do it because you make mistakes. Every one of those mistakes brings you closer to trusting.
Yeah, your guts. Yeah, that's right.
You can do all the due diligence and research, but it always comes down to that.
It does. It does. It really
that
does.
Human gut feeling.
Yeah.
So, unless they can program that into AI.
That's correct. I don't think they can for a while, but they're programming a lot of stuff in AI.
Oh my goodness.
It's frightening. I mean, when I say frightening, we don't know where it's going to go. You know, it's amazing.
Is this something you think about?
Not often. I just read about Elon Musk and his fears of I remember he said one thing. Think of an ant mountain in front of you're building a road. This is a big ant mountain. He said, you're not knocking the ants down and knocking the mountain down because you don't like ants. I mean, it's just they're in the way. So you need the road. You're going to be in the way. So you're going to get rid of them all and just push them out of the way. I'm afraid that AI might find us humans in the way. And it's not that they hate humans or anything else, just that we're in the way of their development. It might just push us away.
Yeah, that's very worrying. Great potential, but also great potential for bad also.
Yeah.
It's like all technology. Whose hands is it in and how are they using it?
Yeah, it's true. At some point, it's going to be in the wrong hands. It always is. But yeah, that's beyond my lifetime, so I don't know. You guys and my kids are all okay with all that.
I guess I'd ask you, do you think having it in everybody's hands is a safer way of distributing that power than having it in a select few hands?
I don't know. We don't know. But we don't have control of it.
If it were in your purview, what would you do?
Think so I don't know. I don't know enough about it and how far it's going to go and where the technology is going to be. I just don't know.
You said you enjoy driving European sports cars. That's a hard left turn.
That's funny.
Do you ever indulge in one of those?
No. I just like the cars, and of course, electric cars are totally different in the amount of power they have, and the way they go from 0 to 60 is pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's like a lightning strike.
It's shocking.
Have you been in a Plaid, one of the new Teslas? It's 1.9 seconds.
No,
to 60.
I haven't been in that car. My son has a Tesla, so a new one. So I go in that, but he doesn't have a Plaid. I didn't know it's called Plaid. I mean, you don't need to go that fast.
Yeah, like when are you ever going to go? That's how you get a speeding ticket.
That's an airplane. Yeah.
What lessons did you pass on to your son for him to start his business?
I think that his observations and watching me, watching the different things that are mistakes and not mistakes, he learned a lot about. He also learned that I don't think he wants to be part of a franchise concept. He'd rather create his own. And I get that, but that's a different talent, and he's doing a good job with it. I think Mavens is going to be great. He doesn't want to be beholden to other people deciding what should be done on a brand because he sees the mistakes that the brands make. So he wants to have a control of a brand that he's create his own brand and doing it, and that's what he's doing with Mavens.
You were a 10% stakeholder in Johnny Rockets at one point.
Yes, I was.
Right?
The company. Yep.
What was that like? How many stores did you guys? Because now
we had a couple.
375
Yeah,
stores?
we had several hundred stores at that point at one time. Yeah. It was 1994. So it was less than 1994. But that was the first buyout and stuff that we did.
And what was that whole experience like?
I loved it because of Mickey and the people I was exposed to and got to know. And Mr. Patrikoff, Alan Patrikoff, was an older man that was the first venture capitalist in Europe. And he was a venture capitalist in the U.S. And he had discovered a lot of companies. He actually, what was it? So many very early on companies and technology and everything else, and I was so excited to that we were able to make him his company, his venture capital company, Patrikoff in New York, as our major investment company. And that was pretty exciting. I was getting stock, but we never went public. Was the thing that I wasn't happy with. We had a revolving door of CEOs, which happens.
What were your big takeaways from that time that you maybe applied to something?
I don't think I would sell all my stores and become part of the company again, because you don't have control. You've given up your control. So you believe that we're going to have, they brought in this fellow who's very, very talented, Jeff Campbell. Jeff Campbell, at 38 years old, was the president of Burger King. So I said, oh, this guy's really going to do it. He was analytical, very smart guy. He was a colonel or something in the Army, and he was maybe 52 years old at this point. And I said, oh, this is going to be really amazing. And he just analyzed things so much and spent money. They wanted to know why my stores were busier than any others. I had Fisherman's Wharf on Jefferson. I had 3rd Street Promenade in Los Angeles. I just knew locations. I have a great feel for locations. So he paid $50,000 at that time to hire an analytical company to find out why my stores were doing so much better. You could have just asked me.
Pick up the phone.
I would just tell you. What I did is I walked the streets and I'd get a feel of everything and go into the stores and get the sales of this store and that store and get a feeling of it. And I just knew. They didn't need, so he was more of that kind of guy, corporate guy, very smart guy, but more corporate guy in that respect. And that didn't work. They just they make decisions based on other things than, I want to talk to you as a guest. I want to know why you like this or what not. You know what I mean? Not analyze things through numbers.
Just don't promote me to guest.
Yeah, no, that's right. You know that story too. See, he picked it up. He's a smart guy. He picked up that thing. That's one of my favorite lines. I said, when I had trouble with it, that I have so many different employees. I had to get to a point where if somebody's really aggravating and agitating you, it eats you up inside. So what I did is I created this concept in my head. When you talk about stress and those types of things, this person, he or she, has already told me stories and misrepresented himself, like lied to us 3 or 4 or 5 times. They're not going to bother me anymore. They're over here. They're now on my user program. They're not part of the team. They're not part of us. I'm going to use that person the way they're using us. And when the time is right, I'm going to give them a promotion. They're going to take a walk with me. And that's what I would do. Now I can get even. And it didn't upset me. So they've been, coming in late, not showing up some days, doing all those kinds of things. But I didn't have a replacement, so I had to deal with it. So now I've got somebody to replace him or her, and I'm very happy now. I said, come on, Tom, come on, take a walk with me. I'm going to give you a nice promotion. He says, really? I'm getting a promotion? I said, yeah. He says, oh, I think I've been doing a good job and everything else. I don't even see what they do. And I said, well, who's the most important person that we all work for? The guest. I'm promoting you I'm going to work for you. You are now a guest. What do you mean I'm a guest? Yeah. Who do I work for? He said, we all work for the guest. Congratulations. I'm going to work for you. Do I have a job anymore? No, guests don't work. We work for you.
I was trying to figure out how you were going with the promotion part.
I work for you.
Wow.
Yeah, my way of getting even with the aggravation and agitation when those people come to play and do those things to us in our business. And the other people respect it because they know that we, I would tell them, I said, not on the team. We got to wait.
Beyond what everyone looks for in team members and employees and people to surround yourself with, obviously respect and discipline and kindness. And
I always say that trust is like an egg on your head. You walk with it. It takes a long time to have it, to build it, and to create the relationships. You know this better than anybody. And it takes a second to lose it. 5 years, 10 years of trust go, boom, out the door with the wrong thing to do. If you ever do the wrong thing. So that's what I think about trust. And the same way with people that work with you. So that's...
How do you keep people motivated that work with you?
I think giving people real opportunity. Shares of the cash flow profits and everything else. I think that when somebody has a job, you have to give them the latitude to do it.
Right.
Not breathe down their neck.
Right.
if they're capable, they'll show you they are capable. They'll grow. So I think that's good. I've had a lot of people that have started with us and started their own businesses.
That's great. That's the best
They
thing.
said I was an inspiration to them because they knew I didn't have an education in business or anything else at that time. It was all from growing. Like, I think having the passion. If you do something that you have passion
Right.
for, it's not as you've heard many times. It's not a job. Then
Right.
it's a career. It's something you enjoy doing. It's what you like to do. Like I use the different bands that we think of that are quite old now. I mean, when you think of a Mick Jagger or those types of people, and they're working, Aerosmith, whoever they are, why are they doing that? It's what they do. They enjoy it. That's what they do. This is what they do.
It's who they are.
It's who they are. That's correct. And that's what happens with people like me and everybody who finds a passion in whatever it is and follows that passion.
Do you feel that you had a mentor in Ron? Sorry, then I'll.
Yeah, no, I would say everybody you have respect for and work with, you pick up a lot of things from them. I mentioned Mickey Drexel. I'll never forget. I went to his office with all our financials, and we had problems with an investor, and it was a big problem because he was taking control of the company. We didn't. You see, I remember being at Mickey's house in San Francisco, and there was a local person that he was very friendly with in Boston. His name was Dick Friedman, also a very creative guy, owned the Charles Hotel and stuff, and built. As time went on, he built the Legends, many things. But anyway, so Dick was there. He was going to be the point person because Mickey was too much in the news and stuff, and he had to be careful. He was a public company. So Mickey looked at me, and he says, so Lloyd, we're taking all your stores. I traded my stores for stock. He says, we're going to put you on salary. You're going to make a lot less money for this, but you're going to have stock, and our goal is to go public. He said, can you run this company? I said, Mickey, it doesn't matter if I can run this company or not. So what if I can? It doesn't matter. So what do you mean? I said, okay, you want to go to Wall Street. We've got maybe 30 stores. I'm the largest franchisee. I have 6. I've got the most successful stores. Great. So I built 6 or 7 great stores. You want to build 500, 1,000 stores in time or whatever it is? The finance people in Wall Street and stuff, they're not going to. This kid went to high school and then he built up his own stores and stuff. How are you going to take that to Wall Street? They all looked at each other and started laughing. He says, the kid's right. So what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. He said, well, he did the best real estate. He's got the best. So I became, he said, we'll make you senior vice president of real estate and development. I said, I don't want that title. Give me real estate guy. We got a deal for a couple of years. Let's get this company going in public. And that's what I did. So I would go out and get all the locations and things to build the company.
How do you stay so real?
Well, I don't know. It's what we are. I mean, I think we're all human. I don't think anything changes. We're all people. You never forget your roots and where you started.
But that's exactly right.
Yeah.
In my book.
Yeah. And we're always vulnerable.
Always.
You never know.
It's that 1 second.
Yep. You never know, and you should never. Any of those people that get arrogance and everything else, I could change like that. I could tell you many stories of people I've been exposed to.
And it usually does.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
No, but I could tell you some stories.
Right?
Yeah. A recent one that was very close to us that my wife discovered, but I don't want to mention it.
Okay.
I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
Because you'll say, yeah, I'm not surprised you said that. And that my wife and I discovered it and helped him grow.
Speaking, I know we've been talking a lot about business, but maybe we should pivot a little bit.
Sure.
How'd you meet Rhonda?
So I had, that goes back to a long time ago. And so I had the shirt company and everybody copied me, but I made some money and I said, I got to get out of this fashion business and do something else. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was, I guess it was before the car wash or any of that. I was just fascinated by this because I was reading People magazine and these kids in People magazine and it was Rolling Stone magazine that they advertised in. And the story was they had made T-shirt company where you send in $5 or $7 and you get your favorite band on the T-shirt at that time. So I said, that's pretty cool. And they did $100,000 of business, big number in those days. So I said, this is pretty cool. You know what? I'm going to try to copy this. I'm going to do it in underwear. I came up with a thing called Funky Drawers of America. They're going to be underwear. I went to RISD, right? I went to RISD. I said, I'm going to have all different designs on underwear. Strawberries, bananas, all kinds of different things. So, but I didn't understand silk screening. So when I'm trying to learn silk screening, I got an artist in RISD. And they weren't really that good what they did. And I would want to get that silk screen. Somebody said to me, you don't want this silk screen. There's a new process, a company called E.L. Freeman Company. They're a printing company, high-end printing company in East Providence, Rhode Island. And they do high-end magazine printing. They're coming out with a thing where they're going to try dyes inside of the printing machines. And they've got a process called sublimation. I said, what is all that? He said, well, they can take an actual photograph and sublimate it on polyester.
Oh.
Photograph. I said, that's unbelievable. The year's 1975. So I'm all excited to see that. I go into the factory. I remember the guy's name, David Durant. He ended up making a fortune because they took that process and were able to do boards for computers in his company later on after I was there. So he did it so he had a picture of Bobby Orr as a hockey player. And I said, here's my polyester underwear or whatever it was, nylon underwear. You can put we can take that. Come here, let me see. He took the paper, they put it on top of the underwear, and I had Bobby Orr's picture on the underwear as clear as a photograph. And that not been seen before. I'm all excited now. Now I'm all cranked up. So now I said, we can't afford to do it in underwear. We're going to do it in shirts. I said, but I don't want these kids at RISD. I love the album cover of the Rolling Stones. It had big chrome on it. So I said, who's the artist that did this? He's going to be in L.A. or New York. Called L.A. He wasn't in L.A. He was in New York. So I could never get the guy on the phone after about 4 or 5 days. So I said, I'm going to call him. I call him at 12 o'clock at night. And I said, oh, excuse me, Mr. White? Yeah? Who's this? I said, my name's Lloyd. I've got this amazing process. Did I wake you, Mr. White? No. I said, I've been trying to get you. I didn't want to wait. He says, you don't understand. Kid, I come to work at 11 o'clock at night. And I leave at 7 in the morning, so nobody bothers me. So I said, I'm sorry to bother you. I said, I'm really sorry to bother you. I explained to him this. He said, well, let me see what you're talking about. So I talked to him. He said, why don't you come up and see me between 2 and 3 tomorrow? Okay. You mean 2 and 3 tomorrow? I told you I come to work at 11 at night. See you tomorrow morning. 2 or 3 in the morning. So I go up there. He's in a loft or something on Lexington Avenue up on top. I go up there. And it's crazy. He's got pictures of different movies that he's done the pictures of. He ended up being he did all the illustration for the original, later on, for the original Star Wars movies and all that. I mean, this guy's incredibly talented. I can't afford his talent. He did it for Coca-Cola, all this stuff, Disney, all kinds of stuff. The best airbrush illustrator in the country, one of them. And he did all the album covers for the Stones and stuff with the big chrome things. I said, Mr. White, this is unbelievable. Yeah, take a look at my underwear here. Bobby Orr. So he's looking at it. He had a bag of white pills and a big jug of I guess it was white wine. So I said, are you okay? You feel all right, Mr. White? And I'm a kid. He says, yeah, why? I said, see, you have some medication. He says, I got to get in the right mood. In the right mood, I can start doing my artwork. I said, oh, okay. So he says, you can't afford me. He said, I get like $5,000 just for that little thing. I said, no, I can't. He said, but I can duplicate all that you did. If you can give me the artwork, he said, I'll tell you what, give me a third of the company. You're not going to own my artwork because you can't afford it, but I'll let you use it.
Wow.
I'll give you 5 of my paintings, and you go ahead and have them duplicated and put it on the fabric. I want to see it. I took those 5 shirts it was during the disco days. So I took those 5 shirts to the McAlpin Hotel, and I learned a national boutique and fashion show. I had lines out the door. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. The grapes on it were glass grapes and all this kind of stuff, and everyone was going crazy. I had every major. Ron Teitelbaum, who created Johnny Rockets, happened to be one of those customers, and he came into me and he said, "Hey kid, I'm in LA. I'm the #1 haberdashery in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills." He said, "I need an exclusive." I said, "Yeah, but I'm taking your name out. It's going to be the name of my store, Eric Ross. That's what's going to be on there." I said, "I'm okay with that, Mr. Teitelbaum. That's fine. You have an exclusive for all of Los Angeles. It's fine." I didn't care. I didn't even know what I was doing. I had $300,000 of orders, and I had 5,000 in the bag over the weekend, over 3 days. And it was a #1 hit at the show.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I got started with that. And how am I going to get the money to buy the shirts, to do the shirts? I went to the supplier. And he was an old guy. He was 34 years old. His name was Ed Moskowitz. And he took his father's company public in the knitting business. And he was kind of, he was pretty much in love with himself, pretty good. He had a chauffeured Rolls Royce at 34 years old, 35 years old, and all that kind of stuff. I had no idea what I was walking into. He calls in his CFO. He says, this kid, Sugarman, he's got these big orders. He's got orders from all over, Bloomingdale's, A&S, Bamberger's, all over. He said, make some phone calls. Find out if this is real. Of course, it was real. He said, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get factored. I said, I have a factory. It's a small factory in Pennsylvania. He said he can make my shirts for me if I send him all the pieces that are sublimated and do it. No, factored. Please explain it to me. He said, I didn't know. So he said, when you ship them, you're going to pay me first. They'll deduct 10% or 20% of the cost of the product. So when you ship to Bloomingdale's, you'll get the money, and then you're going to pay me for my fabric. He was charging me a lot more for the fabric cost. And he put us in the center. I was in it was the New York Times, the Sunday edition of a spread of our shirts, the 2 shirts and stuff. And because we only had 5 shirts, and we got very hot, but we were copied at half the price within 2 years after that. So that's it. And I wanted to get the next design, so I flew to Milan, Italy. And I started looking at what the next design would be, and I felt it would be all cottons and woven. I put together a great line. I went to Lake Como. I was only 21. I went to Lake Como, and I hired a designer in Lake Como because I found out, let me find out where the design that the Italians use, where their designs come from for the fabric. So I kept pulling back the onion. So I did all that. Then I made the mistake of going to Israel because somebody told me there was a great shirt manufacturer. His name was Jacob Lahav, huge shirt company. And I knew other people were using them. I said, Mr. Lahav, can you make my shirts for me? Fantastic. It's going to do great, kid. I'm going to sell these to you. You'll be good. Okay. I'm waiting for the samples. Well, unbeknownst to me, he already had a deal with a big company I called Faded Glory, which did jeans and T-shirts and all that other stuff. He sends my designs to
them.
Faded Glory. And then I got to know the fashion business.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to be in this business. So you asked me how I know Rhonda, and this is where the story's going. So I said, I got a few bucks. I'm buying a fancy car. I'm going to go down. I'm going to take a break. And then my mother was married to Joey's dad. And he said, hey, kid, look, you did good with this shirt thing. You got a few bucks. But let me tell you, I'm going in the jewelry business. You're going to own 25%. You're going to own 20%. Talking to Joey. Joey's not going to work in the business. He's in politics. But you're going to own 25%. And this fella, Vito Scola, he's going to own 50% with his partner, Sweet. They had a thing called International Ring and everything. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I take the line and I go to all the places that, that they would sell to. And Vito's line was very good quality, but all the customers say, you're a nice guy and everything, would like to buy from you, but let me show you over here. We have Esposito jewelry. I said, oh, we already received that stuff, and it's at less prices. It's the exact same thing you have, and it's for less money. I said, oh, I can't sell you on that. You're absolutely right. So after a while, I'd call them up and tell them what's going on. I said, we got to change the design. And someone said, you think you know the business and everything else. Lloyd, this isn't going to work out. I said, okay, that's fine. No, it's not going to work out. Because it didn't make any sense. You can't make a sale. Somebody's already got the product in there. It's for less money. So I said, okay, I'm out of this. Thanks anyway, Joe, and everything else. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going down to Florida for a little while. That's when I met Rhonda down there. So, what I did with the jewelry line is I said, I'm not sending this back. I just spent a lot of money with my car and everything else. I'm going to a flea market. I'm going to sell all that jewelry. And that's what I did. I sold all the samples. So he called up, where's the samples? I said, don't worry. I got to sell them finally. I sold them at the flea market. So they were mad at me. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And that's when I was at a disco was hot, and I went to this big disco show. Rhonda wasn't paying attention to me. I bumped into her and spilt the drink on her. So she had to talk to me. I apologized and took her and her friends out to bite to eat. And I said, I'm really sorry. And then we started dating. And she said, Lloyd, what are you doing? She had a good job working at the hotel, and she was running the conventions at Eden Rock Hotel in Miami. And I said, I like it down here. I stayed in Coconut Grove. I made a deal with the apartment, and I was in the Grove, and I was just having a good time doing that and going to the shows. And I said, she said, you got to get a job. I can't go out with you if you're you're not working every day. so I got some crazy job. I was just doing it with telephone solicitation or something, like a boiler room, just to keep myself busy, make her happy. But that's how it was. And when I saw this building in Rhode Island, a dilapidated car wash, that's when I decided to come back. And I said I would do that. I would take that over and build out. That's when I got started with. And Rhonda and I got married right after that. So that's how I met Rhonda. It was down in Florida. And she said to me, very nice, she really liked dating me and everything, but she said, I'm not moving to Rhode Island. Oh, okay. I said, well, we could get together and see each other, maybe live together. No, I don't do that. Take me to the airport. I'm going home. I said, no. I said, but I had a ring with me just in case, because, as a young guy, you're afraid to make a commitment like that, You don't want.
How old were you?
21, 22.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to get married 20. She was 19 by the time. So we got married. I was like 23 and she was like 19. So she said, no. I'll go home. Not interested in live, that kind of thing. So I pulled over I was after I met her family. I'm coming home. I'm going to Rhode Island. So I pulled over. There was a Howard Johnson's hotel and thing over there. I just pulled over to the side of the road on the way home, and I asked her to marry me at that time. And she didn't know what she was going to answer. She didn't know. She had to think about it. So she stayed at our house with my mother and Joe. And my mother and her hit it off. So that's what happened. We got married. That's how she ended up in Rhode Island. So,
wow.
But if you ask her, she'll tell you she's from New York. It's like 30 years ago. 30 more like 40. I'm going to get in trouble. It might be more than 40. So it is. So, yeah, that's what happened.
We're at the hour mark.
That's great.
I wanted.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, I didn't know I could talk this long. Go ahead.
Oh, it's amazing how quickly the time flies.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you. How did you know Rhonda was the one? Because it's been at least 40 years.
Yeah,
right?
it's been 45 years. So you never really know. That's you just got feelings that we talk about, and we hit it off, and we had a lot in common, and our goals were similar, and that's what it was. And I didn't want to let her go away because I knew she would be meeting a bunch of other guys and stuff, and I wouldn't have the opportunity again. So so all of those things, and just hit it off. We just hit it off. That it was. I beat out the eye doctor she was dating, so that was good. Some kid was going to medical school and she was dating him, but it's one of those things. The salesmanship is the best.
Where did you learn salesmanship?
You don't know. You don't learn it. That's instinctive stuff that you either have. Those are the things they don't teach us in school. Emotional feelings, personality, how people are in reading people, and it's intuition and all those things.
Finances.
All of that. They don't teach at that time when I was a kid. They didn't teach you how to make out a checkbook.
No.
They still.
It shocked me. It shocked me. And all going through school, that's the kind of stuff I want to learn. It's stuff that would help me in my life that I need, because I'm not going to be in a profession like, doctor, lawyer. I'm not going there. So I know where I'm going. Give me some tools that will help me to grow and to be successful in life. The schools didn't teach that.
Your whole life, you've done what most people are petrified to do. Try something different. Look at something new. Go talk to someone they don't know about a particular concept. And they're afraid to communicate.
Yes.
Is that natural? Developed? Were you always conscious of your gift? It's a gift to be able to do that? Or did you, most of your life just think, oh, this is the deal. This is who I am. Like, do you consciously know how incredible that is?
No, I would say you do it out of survival. If you're not accepted in school because you weren't in sports and you weren't in that, for example, one of the things I did was I wasn't good in sports, so I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm not doing well in school. So, and you want to have the attention of girls and things like that. So, how are you going to do that? Well, I did one thing. I said, I got to get, you have to have an extracurricular thing when you're in school. So I saw that typing was like 95% girls. And I said, that sounds like a good idea to me. So I said, I'm going to typing class, right? And unbeknown to me, I was learning how to type really fast, do all the keys and everything. Who ever knew that in the 70s stuff that computers were going to become the thing?
Right.
So I got to a point where I could type over 60 words a minute, but I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because it was all girls in the class.
Right.
So I got to talk to the girls and I got to hang out and all that kind of stuff. So you try to find your way and break through the insecurities we have as growing up. I did become a character that was used in a famous movie. Okay, so I told you I wanted to have attention and everything. I wanted to be successful, and my stock market thing didn't work out too well. So now I'm finding something. I said, I'm going to be a rock and roll promoter. I'm going to promote bands because that's fun. That's a sexy thing and everything else. The bands and your promotion, and I'm a promoter. So I heard about this guy, Skip Chernoff. So I'd ask him if I could help him out, and Bruce Goldstein, they were the promoters, the big promoters in those days. So I'd say, hey, can I help you out? And they said, yeah. You should see this band I'm dealing with. It was Charlie Rocket was the name of the band. Charlie Rocket and the Motels. I said, okay. And by coincidence, I never knew the name Rocket would have any meaning in my life. So I got to meet the band and everything. He said, hey guys, when you go to the shows, I bought an old limousine. I said, I'm gonna wear a chauffeur's hat and everything else. And I had, thick glasses and braces and gawky in those days at 16.
Oh my God.
So I went ahead and I said, you guys, I'm going to pull up and it's going to be, they're going to wonder who's coming out of the limousine and everything. And it's going to be your band. They're going to think right away, you guys are going to make it. So they got a kick out of it, driving around the limousine and stuff like that. And I take them to the bands. Unbeknownst to me, there was a tall, slender kid who was very quiet. Charlie's best friend. So I didn't give it a second thought. So I did that for a while. I promoted a band in Roger Williams College. I was all excited about this band because they were really good. They were musicians. They were really good. So they had, I heard the tape on them, and it was $1,500, and I put them up. I put the money up. It was a lot of money for me, and I put them up at Roger Williams College. 20 people came and bought tickets to that show. The band came, and they set up, and they said, don't worry about it, Lloyd, you're going to have to be our roadie tonight because our roadie quit. But we're going to play the whole set because that's what we do. Sometimes we have 20, 30, 50. If we're in our hometown, we'll get a couple hundred. But this is what we do. They set up the whole band. He did this song called Rosalina. I said, wow, this is unbelievable. These guys are incredible. A saxophone player and everything else. 20 people. The whole show was an hour and a half. I said, Bruce, I'm quitting this business. I said, why don't you have a record deal? He says, we send our tape out every week. We haven't had it. It's been like 3 or 4 years. We don't have a record deal. Well, it wasn't until another 7 or 8 years before Bruce Springsteen had a hit. And that's who it was. And I said, if he's that good and the musicians are that good, my bands can't even touch that, I'm out of this business. So I'll segue to many years later, 10, 12 years, 15, whatever it was. And I'm in LA and we're doing Johnny Rockets. A couple of people said to me, hey, Shuggy, you're from Rhode Island, right? I said, yeah, why? He says, there's a movie playing from a couple of guys that made a movie here, from Rhode Island. I said, you're kidding me. It's playing here in Century City and in LA and Beverly Hills. Are you kidding me? I said, no, it's really good. So I said, I got to go right away. So I go to the movie. I see the screen, and Charlie Rocket is the star of the movie. And I said, I knew he'd make it. That guy's so talented. I knew he'd make it. And he was funny and great. And then the limousine pulls up. And being Jewish, they called me Christmas. And Lloyd Christmas drives up in the movie Dumb and Dumber. And I'm the real personality for the movie. I'm the real Lloyd Christmas from the movie Dumb and Dumber. It was my personality. It was me. So that's it.
My God.
And Peter Farley and I got together in L.A. And he, in his own way, he told me that.
Wow.
You're going to sue us? I said, no, I'm not going to sue you. I just want to know. He said, okay. This is what I can do. Ask me the question. I can go yes or no. This. I said, okay. Peter, it was me, right? I don't know if it was you or not. You happy now? I said, yes, I am. I'm happy now. I said, my kids hate the idea of it, but you know what? I can live with it. But man, did you guys destroy Mary? Everyone's a real personality in a real story. The movie is something about Mary?
Yes.
With Cameron Diaz?
I have not seen it. I know it.
Okay. When she shows up and she has up in her hair and that really happened. That's a real thing. So there's a real Mary. But she can't go around saying, I was married, because,
Right.
So I said, but I can say I'm Lloyd, I don't care. My kids don't like it. So that's what it was. It's really talented guys. That's what happened.
All right, I will watch that movie. I have friends who
It's embarrassing.
love that movie.
I won't even watch the whole first. It's the first one that the resemblance.
I tried to watch that movie, and it was so stupid.
Stupid is really stupid.
That
That's why
I just couldn't. I could. They were all watching it, and I walked in and watched it for 20 minutes.
Well, you're not alone. I can't watch that movie. It reminds me too much of somebody I know. At that time. But don't forget, it's before Adderall or Ritalin or anything else. So it's unmedicated. That's what it is.
Now that explains a lot.
Yeah.
We always close with 2 questions, unless you want us to keep going. The first one being, if your great-grandchild were sitting on a screen someday looking at this, and you had the opportunity to pass forward some wisdom or a story or whatever you'd like to put into a little capsule for that person in a couple hundred years.
Yeah, that's a nice question. I'm going to try not to think that far ahead, because we're not going to be here, any of us, including you, a couple hundred years from now.
Well, this will be here.
Okay, yes, it will. You can record this. And you're doing a very good job, by the way. I'm impressed with what you do, and you are following your passion. And you should continue to do that. You're doing a good job. So I would say that times will change, things will change. Go with your gut feelings and your emotions, and block out a lot of the noise of what you're supposed to be doing and not supposed to be doing, and just try to do the right thing and try to be passionate about anything that you choose, regardless of what it is in your life.
That's a great sentiment. Thank you. And then there's one last little tradition. The previous guest leaves a question for the incoming guest, having no idea who it's going to be. But since we've already told you, Jerry left you this question. Do you have any money? Want to buy my farm? That's question A.
Jerry left that question? Did he really? I know who it is. Yeah, so he really left that question? That's hysterical. I don't know if I could ever match the amount of money that you would want and be able to still have some value left.
And his next more serious question was, if you had to leave a time capsule for yourself today, if you were to watch this in whatever, 10 years, 5 years, what would you put in it? What would you want to say to your future self?
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a good question. In how many years?
Say 10.
10. Continue to find anything that can shorten your life and try to beat it, catch it, and try to continue, fix it so you can still be around, because you want to continue your life. And I believe I'll still want to do that in 10 years from now. So we got to try to catch things before they catch us. That's a challenge when you reach certain ages, that we have to do it. Fortunately, I never smoked and I never abused anything else with liquor or anything other stuff. I never went down that road. I think I look considerably younger than I actually am, but that's all in my head. I don't know. So
I don't know how old you are, but you look great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I can tell what. Okay, I'll write it down.
Okay.
You said I can write something down. Doesn't mean you can repeat it. I got to find out.
When I marry a guest.
I guess I'll find out. In
Oh
a
my
minute.
God.
Yeah.
Looks incredible.
So that's what we continue to try to find, anything that's going to affect us. It's going to shorten the life that way, because that's really what we want us to most people to survive and go forward and live the journey of life.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. There's so much more to talk
You're
about
very
if you'll come
talented
back.
and you are very good. How did I do compared to my friend who wants to sell that land? when he wants to sell it at a discount, I'm very excited.
I'll send this to him. He'll love this. Oh my God.
We
don't rank our guests.
Was he your last interview, by the way?
Yes. He was.
That's
before
amazing
you.
to follow him.
He was here for
Yes.
3.5 hours.
I can see it because you can get really into it. I
Oh my God.
really could too.